Sauron was famously known as the Necromancer during the events of The Hobbit, but what does that even mean in the world of Middle-earth? In modern popular culture, largely influenced by video games and tabletops, necromancy has evolved into something very recognizable. Primarily, the physical manipulation of the dead. This makes sense considering the origins of the term. Necromancy comes from the Latin necromantia, which itself from the Greek nekromantia, with nekros meaning dead and madia referring to divination. Now, while we can't know the specifics of antiquity and what every single ancient group believed in, by and large the term was affiliated with rituals that aimed to call upon foreign spirits or the ghosts of ancestors. It was present in ancient Greece, Egypt, Rome, Babylon, and even China. The most famous ancient example comes to us from the Odyssey and the catabasis to the underworld, which involved an array of sacrifices and rituals. When Christianity spread in Europe, the idea of necromancy became affiliated with evil spirits and demons, as the only good involving the dead was kept within the bounds of the Church and the doctrine of the resurrection of Christ. In short, no pagan rituals to talk to the dead. Of course, while such practices were officially condemned, some continued to practice the occult, and necromantic rituals even merged with Christian doctrine and calls to God. Gradually, however, the idea of necromancy moved away from the communication or interaction with the dead and came to describe all black magic or forms of sorcery. This additional historical meaning, stemming from the Middle Ages, adds to the confusion when discussing Tolkien. And to add to it, the term necromancy has also been influenced by modern popular culture. The necromancer of Dungeons & Dragons, for example, would be able to wield the dead as weapons and reanimate corpses at will. It isn't the type of shamanism from antiquity, but rather a fictionalized version of it in modern fantasy settings. A type of black magic that refers to the physical manipulation of the dead. This has led to the necromancy of the Lord of the Rings and of Sauron specifically sometimes being misrepresented, or at the very least, it has caused people to get the wrong expectations from Tolkien's writings. You see, some have claimed that when Tolkien wrote the character of the necromancer, and when that character was revealed to be Sauron, he meant for the term necromancer to refer strictly to dark sorcerer, explained by the fact that Sauron didn't practice proper necromancy because he didn't reanimate any undead creatures like zombies or skeletons. This modern interpretation is unfortunately inaccurate, and the reason why I went into the backstory of the term in the first place. Because, as you can see, it retroactively changes the meaning of the word. It has meant dark magic in medieval history, and in the present it does refer to zombies and the like, but what Tolkien had in mind was a variation on the literal divination of the dead from antiquity. While Sauron was definitely a dark sorcerer and evil, he did not need to physically raise the dead in order to be a necromancer, and the lack of this power doesn't cancel out his status as one. Necromancy, etymologically and historically, refers to interacting with the spiritual world. There are countless references to Sauron doing just that, and the Nazgul are not even a part of that. This is because the Ringwraiths never really died, and they became what they were through the corruption of the Great Rings while still being alive. In Morgoth's Ring, it is written that, "It is therefore a foolish and perilous thing, besides being a wrong deed forbidden justly by the appointed rulers of Arda, if the living seek to commune with the unbodied, though the houseless may desire it, especially the most unworthy among them. For the unbodied, wandering in the world, are those who at the least have refused the door of life, and remain in regret and self-pity. Some are filled with bitterness, grievance, and envy. Some were enslaved by the Dark Lord, and do his work still, though he himself is gone. They will not speak truth or wisdom. To call on them is folly. To attempt to master them, and to make them servants of one's own will, is wickedness. Such practices are of Morgoth, and the necromancers are the host of Sauron, his servant. Those that are unbodied or houseless may be the spirits of evil elves and men who refused entry into the halls of Mandos, making them vulnerable to the influence of the Dark Lord. A Dark Lord that is also known for creating the werewolves by trapping spirits into wolves, which is interesting to ponder. And so, Sauron did not just raise mindless bodies from the ground to create massive armies, as we see in Warhammer for example. He could communicate with them, he used dark sorcery extensively, and he manipulated spirits to do his bidding by trapping them in the bodies of monsters. In the Lay of Lithien, Tolkien writes, "Men called him Thu, and as a god, in after days beneath his rod, bewildered bowed to him and made his ghastly temples in the shade. Not yet by men enthralled adored, now was he Morgoth's mightiest lord, master of wolves whose shivering howl forever echoed in the hills, and foul enchantments and dark sigildry did weave and wield. In Glabury the necromancer held his hosts of phantoms and of wandering ghosts." And in Morgoth's Ring, the metaphysics of this are explained as such. Some say that the houseless desire bodies, though they're not willing to seek them lawfully by submission to the judgment of Mandos. The wicked among them will take bodies if they can, unlawfully. The peril of communing with them is, therefore, not only the peril of being deluded by fantasies or lies, there is peril also of destruction. For one of the hungry houseless, if it is admitted to the friendship of the living, may seek to eject the Fea from its body, and in the contest for mastery the body may be gravely injured, even if it be not wrested from its rightful habitant. Or the houseless may plead for shelter, and if it is admitted, then it will seek to enslave its host, and use both his will and his body for its own purposes. It is said that Sauron did these things, and taught his followers how to achieve them. At any rate, this subject, or any subject regarding magic in The Lord of the Rings, should never be approached under modern lenses, or a modern understanding of fantasy powers. Tolkien's world is fundamentally a mythology, and while its history and internal logic are largely consistent, the way that its fantastical elements function is not modern. Just like in the mythologies and ancient stories, things of the imagination just happen. Homer doesn't explain the inner workings of the mythology to you, the mythology just is. In the same logic, Tolkien's necromancy just is. It means that Sauron is a dark sorcerer. It means that in Tolkien's mind, this involved interacting with and using spirits for evil deeds, and the rest of it is in the air. In short, no hard magic system involving massive zombie armies as we're used to. But I would argue something infinitely scarier: the enslavement of the spirit until the end of time. A massive thank you to my channel members, and thank you very much for watching.